There are multiple reports this morning that the United States and Iran are moving closer to an agreement on a new peace deal to end the war. North America correspondent Lauren Day is in Washington, D.C. and she joins us. G'day, Lauren. Now, we've heard this sort of thing before, but oil prices have dropped overnight and global markets have risen in reaction to these reports. So what do we know about this US proposal and what Iran thinks of it as well?
Well, James, as you mentioned, there are widespread reports this morning that the two parties are closing in on a deal, that they're finalising this one-page memorandum of understanding that would effectively end the war and then trigger a 30-day period of negotiations on some of the trickier issues that have been sticking points throughout these negotiations. Obviously, at the top of the list, Iran's nuclear program, but then also things like the unfreezing of Iranian assets, things like security in the Strait of Hormuz. We also understand that they are discussing a moratorium on Iranian enrichment for a period of at least 10 years. Now, previously, we know the US had been demanding that was a 20-year moratorium. Iran only wanted it to be 5. And the plan would also require Iran to ship its stockpile of highly enriched uranium out of the country. We don't know how that would happen, but Donald Trump has told PBS that it might in fact be shipped to the United States. So all of these signs are promising towards finally reaching a deal. Axios is reporting that this is the closest that the two parties have come to finalising a deal, but we need to really temper expectations here and put a bit of context around that. Apparently, officials from the White House are worried about the leadership within Iran, that it's quite disjointed, quite divided, and that there might be trouble for them to reach a consensus among the factions. But also, we've heard this many times before. We've heard that a deal was imminent multiple times from the President, from the White House, that there were very promising negotiations, that a deal was very close, and obviously we don't have a deal yet.
Yeah, and Lauren, just on that, while the US President is saying, oh, it could be a great thing, we could be very, very close, he's also made some fresh threats against Iran, talking about bombing as well. Take us through that.
Yeah, that's another very common element to these things. We hear the President talking about very positive discussions, you know, the possibility that a deal could be just around the corner, that the war is likely to end very soon, and in the same breath threatening further military action. This morning, he continued that on Truth Social, saying that the war would end if Iran agrees to what the US had been demanding, but if they don't agree, the bombing starts. And he said that it will be at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. He reiterated those comments to reporters earlier today. Have a listen to what he had to say.
We're doing well, now we have to get what we have to get. If we don't do that, we'll have to go a big step further. But with that being said, they want to make a deal. We've had very good talks over the last 24 hours, and it's very possible that we'll make a deal. Yeah, please.
And James, there's been a lot of mixed messaging coming out of the White House in general. Yesterday we heard from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who said Operation Epic Fury, which is obviously what the war has been dubbed, was over already. And then this morning we hear Donald Trump saying that it would be over if Iran agrees to the US terms. Marco Rubio also said yesterday that Project Freedom, which was that mission to escort ships out of the Strait of Hormuz, that was extremely important, that was sort of the next phase of the war. And then a few hours later, we heard Donald Trump say that operation, Project Freedom, was paused. So it just shows just how conflicting the messaging coming out of the White House is and just how fast-moving these negotiations really are.